All right, in today's explainer, we are diving deep into a professional trader's playbook. We're going to break down a really powerful strategy that's designed to help you outsmart one of the market's favorite and most painful games, setting traps for traders just like you. Let's jump right in. I want to kick things off with this quote because, wow, it just gets right to the heart of the problem, doesn't it? The key word here is engineered. This isn't just bad luck or some random market move. The market is often structured to do this, and really, truly understanding that is your first big step to staying out of its way. So a good way to think about it is that the market is kind of like this giant, complex supercomputer. And what's its prime directive? Well, it feels like its job is to trap, frustrate, and stop out the majority of traders, usually right before a huge move happens. If you're out there trying to predict its every single move, you're playing a game you're almost guaranteed to lose. So, how in the world do you beat a machine like that? Well, you don't try to outpredict it. You have to change the game completely. And that brings us to the most fundamental mindset shift we're going to talk about today. React, don't predict. This right here illustrates the difference perfectly. On one hand, you have the losing trader. They make these big proclamations, right? The top is in. We are definitely heading lower. They're trying to tell the future. But the professional, they use if-then statements. If price breaks that low and then recovers, I will look to get long. You see the difference? It's not a prediction, it's a plan of action. And that's really the heart of it. Success in this game comes from trading the price action that is literally happening right in front of your eyes, not some story you've cooked up in your head. It's all about stripping away your bias, your ego, and just executing a plan based on what you see. Okay, so once you've made that mental shift, what exactly are you supposed to be reacting to? Well, this is where it gets fun. This is where we learn how to use the market's own traps against it. So let's get into section 2 and start hunting for what are called failed breakdowns. The failed breakdown is a professional's bread and butter setup, and it's so powerful because it's built on pure market psychology. See, when price smashes through a major low, it does two things. It lures in new short sellers, and it triggers the stop losses of people who were long. But when it suddenly reverses and snaps back, all of those shorts are now trapped. They're forced to buy back to cover their positions, and that buying just adds fuel to the fire, often igniting a massive rally. So we're not avoiding the trap, we're waiting for it to spring so we can pounce. Let's break down the anatomy of this thing. First, the market establishes a clear, significant low. Then you get the flush. That's when price dives below it. This is the moment of maximum pain, where everyone is panicking. But the magic, the real opportunity, happens on the recovery, when price fights its way back and reclaims that original low. That whole sequence, the low, the flush, and the recovery, that is the exact pattern we're on the hunt for. But hold on, you can't just use any old low on the chart. For this to work, it has to be what we call a significant low, and that has a very specific definition. It needs to be one of three things: either the prior day's low, a low that has held steady for several hours, or a cluster of lows, a shelf where price has bounced multiple times. These are the obvious levels where you just know a ton of orders and stops are sitting. All right, so you've got the reactive mindset. You've spotted a significant low. You've seen the flush and the recovery. You are ready to slam that buy button, right? Wrong. Not so fast. This brings us to an absolutely critical account-saving rule in Section 3, the Golden Rule of Entry. And here it is, plain and simple. This is the single biggest mistake traders make that ruins this entire setup. They see the price pop back above the low, that fear of missing out, that FOMO, kicks into high gear, and they jump in, only to get trapped again as the price just rolls right back over. Patience is everything at this moment. Well, this obviously leads us to the million-dollar question, doesn't it? If you can't just buy the second it recovers, how do you know when it's actually safe to get in? How can you be sure that the recovery is for real and not just another nasty trap? The answer is you need a system, a non-negotiable, rules-based plan. This is where we separate the pros from the amateurs. And that brings us to Section 4, the 2 protocols for entry. This is the real secret sauce. So our first method is something called acceptance. Think of it like a confirmation signal from the market itself. You have to wait for this specific price action to unfold after the recovery. By showing you acceptance, the market is basically saying, yep, I'm comfortable up here. I want to be above this level now. There's no more selling pressure to push me down. It's like the market is giving you the green light to enter the trade. So what does this acceptance actually look like on a chart? Well, take a look at these examples. After that initial recovery, you'll often see price dip back down to retest that same low. But here's the key. It fails to break back below it. It proves that the old level, which was support, then became resistance, is now support again. When you see price hold firm on that retest, that's acceptance. That is your signal to act. But markets aren't always so nice and tidy. What happens in those crazy high volatility days where price just rips through a level and doesn't even think about looking back? For those situations, we have protocol number 2, non-acceptance. The non-acceptance protocol is for when things are moving fast, and it's purely mechanical, which is beautiful. The rule is incredibly simple. After price recovers that significant low, it has to rally a specific amount past it. Let's use 5 points as the example here. And then it has to hold above that new, higher price for a couple of minutes. There's no guessing, no interpretation. It's a clear, rules-based trigger that's all about momentum. So what we have here are 2 totally different tools for 2 very different jobs. In your normal, choppier market conditions, you're looking for protocol 1, acceptance. You're waiting for that retest. But in a fast, trending, high volatility market, you switch to protocol 2, non-acceptance, and you look for that momentum break and hold. It's all about having the right tool for whatever the market is throwing at you that day. Now, when you put all these pieces together, the reactive mindset, the pattern recognition, and these super disciplined entry protocols, it all points to one big overarching philosophy. And that brings us to our conclusion. You're trying to be a trader, not a fortune teller. At the end of the day, professional trading is not about having a crystal ball and predicting the future. It's about having a well-defined edge, being incredibly patient while you wait for the market to give you your setup, and then executing your plan flawlessly without fear or greed. All right, let's wrap this up with the key takeaways. Number 1, shift your entire mindset from predicting to reacting. Number 2, learn to spot that high probability failed breakdown setup. Number 3, and this is crucial, obey that golden rule. Be patient and never, ever rush your entry. And finally, number 4, execute your trade like a machine using one of those 2 protocols, either acceptance or non-acceptance. And we'll leave you with this one final thought to chew on. In a world just flooded with noise, with opinions, with infinite predictions about where the market is going next, maybe, just maybe, the real edge isn't about being right. Maybe it's about knowing exactly how and when to react.